Hello, everybody. CEO Insights, the Living Organization podcast with Vitaly Gieman. That's me. With me is Robin Daniels. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you so much, Vitaly. How's it going?
Very good. Thank you. We've already been having fun with Robin, talking about everything as two ex-product managers, CMOs, and so on. So Robin is, yeah, Robin had an amazing career. Just quick introduction. Robin worked for Salesforce and LinkedIn and many other large companies, took some of them public as a CMO. He now works for Zensai, which is a HR platform, software platform. And Robin, what I want to talk about, rather than how to take companies public, which is I'm sure you can talk about, is I want to talk about remote workforce, but not from a HR perspective, from a CEO, from a strategic perspective. A lot of CEOs say, yeah, I love remote workforce. And then, as you said, actually it was coming from you. And then I go, yeah, it's kind of sucks because I can't build my culture remotely. And it's like there's all these other negative shadows of remote, but we're stuck with it. What do we do in that sense where people don't really want to work in the office?
Yeah, it's so interesting that I would say the last couple of years, every conversation I've had really with CEOs, lots of them, maybe hundreds of them, because I advise a lot of companies, I get introduced to a lot of people. Publicly, they're like, oh, remote work is so great, we love it. And privately, pretty much 100% of them are like, this sucks. And it sucks because they feel like they're losing a little bit of like culture. They feel like the fun has gone out of it a little bit. Sometimes even they go as far as say, I don't know what people are doing. I don't think that's everyone. I think as long as you can still kind of be productive and so on. And so there's like this dichotomy between what they're saying publicly and what they're saying privately. And I think it's very hard to have a great culture if you're what I would call the say-do ratio is completely off. I mean, best cultures are very like aligned with what they say and what they do. And this here feels like one of those. I think one of the reasons why remote work has been so difficult is because people don't know how to like really institutionalize it in a way that's empowering for everyone. Honestly, my take on it is fairly simple: is that you need people to be successful and the company to be successful in equal measure. So if you have a culture where people are successful but the company is suffering, that's not success at all, because the company is going to end up failing and you're going to probably lose your job. But the vice versa is also true. If you have a company that's just growing like crazy and crushing it, but the people are miserable, not success either. The moment something better comes along and lets people held hostage for whatever economic reason, they're going to leave or they're not going to do the best work of life. When I see these stats that say that 2 out of 3 people want to quit their jobs, it's a tragedy. I mean, I can guarantee that those people are not showing up every day doing the best work of their life. And I want to create a world, a culture where people are showing up every day doing great, innovative work that is empowering for the company, but also for themselves. And when it comes to kind of this culture of work, it's a lot about, to me, it's about 2 things: freedom and accountability. Freedom as in give people the choice of where they want to work and how they want to work, as long as they deliver the results the company also needs. Again, it has to be an equal measure. But if you're delivering great results and the company is benefiting and you're happy, that's a win-win. But again, if you have a kind of job where sometimes you do need to be with people, or it's more around a collaborative effort and it's suffering because you're remote, that's not success either. And then of course I get why a company would say you need to be here. That's totally fair. They might lose the employee, and that's also a fair choice. But there are some jobs, I think, that are some tasks at least that are better done collectively. Especially, I think, in my experience, a lot of times it happens at the beginning of projects when you're into creative brainstorming. That could be in finance and engineering and marketing, when you're like really trying to figure out, what are we trying to do? What is the goal? How are we going to make things happen? Once you're actually in the mode of just execution, remote work becomes a lot easier. Because it's just status updates and let's just connect and see how things are going. But at the beginning, I think there's a lot of like that collective collaboration that's sometimes hard to replicate online. Not impossible, but hard. And in many situations where you're trying to work on creative things and you're like doing it. I'll give you an example. I did a 2-hour creative brainstorm on some branding stuff. This is a couple of years ago, and I was doing advisory work with a company. And it was like, I think 2 or 3 hours online, and it was just kind of miserable. You can tell nobody was engaged. Everyone was drained of energy. And then a couple of weeks later, we decided to meet up and we did it in person. And it was just 5 people. Everyone's kind of building on each other's ideas. It was great. The energy was high in the room. And it's like, this is so much better in person, right?
Yeah.
Than it was
Yeah.
remote. But there's some things that are perfect for remote. So you got to figure it out. Like, it's not an easy thing. So painting everything with one brush is not success. It's not how you're not gonna succeed that way at all.
Thank you, Roman. That makes total sense, right? Because, and in some ways, we're entering a new way of working, right? We know we
Yeah.
face, like, listen, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, even 10 years ago, we were not, remote was not an option anyway, right? So we didn't know. So this is a whole new territory for us, in particular for leaders, right?
So I mean, I'm in Scotland today. I'm talking to you from Scotland. You're in Croatia, right? Like, I mean, you can do great work from anywhere, right? It's just like, as long as you're kind of also clear about the work you're doing, and I think like you and I chatted about one-to-one, totally fine. Like, it's much easier doing. You can honestly, I think you can do that from anywhere. It's the group meetings oftentimes that become a little bit more draining or harder when you're like,
Yeah.
just everyone's remote. Not some people are losing interest. You can usually tell in those meetings, like, oh, the energy's dipping and nobody's paying attention. Like, oh, that sucks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I realized in our work, in the living organization work, by the way, the reason I plugged the living organization, because for the last 7 years, I've been involved in this project called living organization. What is it? How do we get organization to be fully vital, alive, to be a living person that's working as one? We started, actually, me and you, saying, hey, we want one team. We don't want a whole bunch of players playing on their own, right?
That's right.
And how do we unify? And the remote work it's not an easy one. And
No.
I want to just bounce something off you. The reason it's not easy, because most people think, well, they understand it sucks when it's like 40 people on Zoom and nobody's listening to anyone. But the reason it's not so much just the dynamics, but is that we're not paying attention to the context, what we call the minds, that level of the storytelling, the binding element of the community. It's easy when you're live. You kind of like, you're all part of the team. You're eating, you're drinking. It becomes the physical environment binds you, right? When you're online, you're not part of a water cooler, right?
I think it's a lot about flow, honestly. Like, I think about it, right? The flow online is very hard to get right. If you're, let's say, 5 people and you're trying to do some work together, it becomes super, I would say, flat, because it's like, okay, now it's your turn to speak, and now it's your turn to speak, and now it's your turn to speak, right? Right. And then there's no flow. But if you were doing 5 people live, a lot of people talk over each other, right? And you're like, I'm building on what you said, and actually, it's okay to interrupt people because you're building on what they said. Online, you can't do it. It's very rude, let that person talk, and then they raise their hand. It's like, it's a really weird way to like do a creative session or some flow, or kind of like build on each other. It's like, and I think of it this way: I hate consensus. And a lot of times I think that this can lead to consensus where everyone like, but I love collaboration. What's the difference? I think consensus is when a group of people get together and the end result is something people agree on, but they're not excited by. And collaboration, I think, is when people get together and they're excited by the outcome because they've built on each other. They've helped each other make it better. We came in with this goal, but we're actually building on each other's ideas and energy, and we're making the end goal even better. That's true collaboration. That's beautiful. Consensus sucks. And a lot of times, I think sometimes this online way of working, in some instances, it can lead to a lot of consensus. Like, do you agree? Okay, do you agree? Like, raise your hands. Like, it's not, it's like, it becomes a little hard. So it all depends on, like, again, what you're trying to do, right? But that's just a great example of where it's like, it's tough. It's tough to harness it. Maybe one day we'll get there, but I don't think we're fully there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. One day we'll have a neural interface, and I will be thinking like, I'll be already in your mind, so it doesn't matter, right?
Completely.
You're like, we are Borgs, we are one. Oh, wonderful. Robin, thank you so much for being on my program. I love chatting. I love your spirit. I love the playful spirit that you are. And we'll have you back again on very important topics.
See ya. Bye.